Right, you ready to get going?
Sure.
Let's blast through it. Let's blast through it. Right, so got a very exciting chat tonight. We haven't done one of these for a while. Got Nigel and Steve with me. It's the 25th birthday of Titan A.E.
How about that?
And it's a quarter of a century old. And there's a couple of reasons why we're going to have a little conversation about, a little chat about Titan A.E. First, because it's an absolutely cracking movie. And for anybody that hasn't seen it, it's got a really interesting history. It's like Electrasy has. Titan A.E. was released in 2000. It was co-directed by Don Bluth and Gary Goldman. Now, Don Bluth, if you're not aware, if you're listening to this, you don't know who Don Bluth is. He was an amazing animation director. He did The Land Before Time and Anastasia and various other films that most of us of a certain age grew up with. He's very recognizable. He co-founded Fox Animation Studios. Titan A.E. was 10 years in development. So the original concept at 20th Century Fox was originally conceived at 20th Century Fox. It was pitched as a live action film, and then they shifted it to animation. So they decided actually it wasn't going to be a live action movie, it was going to go to animation. Don Bluth and Gary Goldman came in. Fox Animation Studios basically bet the house on this film. There was a whole bunch of really amazing screenwriters involved, people like Joss Whedon from Buffy and the Avengers and things like that. Firefly, he was involved. And then what was really remarkable about it during production is they combined traditional 2D animation and 3D animation techniques. Very cutting edge for the time. There wasn't a lot of CGI in that space, and they managed to blend the two, I think, pretty brilliantly. So that's the deal. It had a big cast involved. Matt Damon voiced the main character of Cale Tucker. Drew Barrymore voiced the Kima, who's the female lead. Nathan Lane played a character called Preed. There was Ron Perlman, which I didn't know until I was swatting up on this. Ron Perlman was in there, and then Bill Pullman as well. So it was a big cast. They absolutely threw the book at it. I'm going to get to the soundtrack because that's really why we're here. After I've told you why this film has become a cult classic, but it was a ginormous flop. So it had a production budget for 2000. This was pretty big. Had a production budget of between $75 million and $90 million. So pretty huge for that kind of money for an animation at that time. Its domestic gross in the US was $22.8 million.
Yeah, that's not good.
So commercially, this was a disaster. Worldwide total, $36.8 million on a $90 million budget. So this was not good. And they think with all the marketing budget and everything thrown in, it was an estimated net loss of about $100 million with the distribution costs and stuff like that. So it was a pretty monumental flop. Was number 5 in the US. And it actually, if you look at what was released at the time, it was a pretty weak box office as well. So it was Shaft, Gone in 60 Seconds, and Mission Impossible 2. That was the summer blockbusters that they were pitching against. So it wasn't big. Anyway, Fox Animation Studios shut down shortly after the film's drastic performance. And there you go. However, it has endured, as we've discovered over the last kind of couple of years, the fans of that kind of animation have really taken to it. Now, the reason we're covering this today, and I'm going to stop talking, is because the two young gentlemen from Electrasy will be able to tell you a little bit more about something else to do with this movie. So the soundtrack to this film is sensational. Somehow Fox Animation Studios and Don Bluth decided that they would not put a kind of traditional score together as such. They had a bit of a score to it. They would put together a who's who of kind of pop rock, hip hop, and reggae from the time, and have a pretty wild soundtrack. It had the Fun Loving Criminals, it had Texas, it had Jamiroquai, Lit, whole bunch of American bands I don't understand. It also had our friends from Electrasy's song Cosmic Castaway on it.
There you go.
Nigel, why don't you regale Steve and I and the listeners with a little bit of how you got the phone call?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I don't know about the phone call, but I remember the process kind of thing. Like, I think from our management, we heard like somebody wants to see if you want to write a song for a movie, which I'd never done before. And I'm like, Sure. Yeah, it sounds like a fun thing to do. Like, why not? And this is when we were in the middle of making our second album, In Here We Fall, for Arista in the States. So we were in LA anyway, working with Matthew Wilder. And we got this like call, like, hey, you know, so we go on down to, I guess, Fox's studios at the time. We basically, and I think, Steve, did we all go to this? We all went to
To
this sort of
the
like screening thing.
yeah.
Yeah. I think we were all there. So we
Yeah.
basically go to this little screening, and they've got about 5 scenes that we get to watch. They're sort of like, we need songs for these 5 moments. So it would be great if you could write something for this, right? For one of these moments. And I forget what the other moments were.
Were they finished?
And
were the scenes
no,
finished?
they were not finished at all. They were literally black and white, sort of like sketch animations.
Some of it was color. It
Maybe
would
a little bit of
suddenly-
color. It was like,
there'd
yeah,
be like 5 seconds of like color, like it was all finished, and then it would just switch
Just
to
be,
like in
like,
the same footage to black and
sketch
white line
things,
drawings and
yeah.
stuff.
So it was like a total.
And I've actually got
mix.
the VHS tape of what we saw in that studio.
No
you
way.
Of it unfinished, yeah, because it basically had written on it, "Do not take this,"
Right.
not to be taken out of the building.
Because they weren't
Somehow
going to release that.
Somehow it ended up in my bag.
Oh, that's an interesting.
And because it's on VHS, I haven't seen it since.
Yeah, right.
Bloody hell, that's
So yeah,
awesome.
so we got to see that,
Yeah, maybe we should give it back to Don Bluth.
and it was cool. And you know, we saw them, and there were all these different. And I think they might have had, certainly what's common with this sort of type of movie thing is they might have some kind of track in place. I just don't remember whether they did or not, or whether they had some music as a sort of, we're thinking of something like this. I don't remember if they did. They may or may not have done. Don't remember. Steve, I guess if we ever find that VHS, then we can find
Yeah, I'll
out
have to send it to
exactly
Pete,
what it was.
and we'll
Go from there, because they
find
may
out
well
what's
have
on
been.
there.
It's certainly
Check with my
normal for there
lawyers
to be
first.
something in place.
Yeah.
But what I do remember then is, you know, we came back and we were all staying in this one apartment in Sherman Oaks, actually not far up the road from here. And the next morning I woke up and literally the whole song, Cosmic Castaway, was pretty much finished. It was just in my head. It was one of those moments, and this doesn't always happen with songwriting. I think we had a little chat about this before. Sometimes they just pop right in, and it's like you've heard it on the radio in your brain, right? And it was just all there. The structure was there, the verse chorus thing. Now, as you know, I think you've got the actual original demo that I recorded that morning. So I recorded that in our little apartment on a 16-track that morning after having seen this sort of shortcuts of the movie the night before.
Amazing.
And
That's a great time. That's a great time to not have writer's block, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah, that would be bad to be sort of like, I can't think of anything. No, but
like, talk about high
know,
pressure, you know. I mean, that is really high pressure, Nige. So, like,
but
well
it was,
done, you
but
know.
it also, there's a couple of things. One, it wasn't like, if we hadn't done it, it would have just been like, oh, we just didn't do a song for it. It wasn't like anybody was counting on us saying, you have to submit a song. They were just like, hey, maybe you want to try and see. And even once I'd written it, and then the other thing is, I didn't have to spend months crafting and honing it. It just was there, right? I just heard the whole thing. And then, yeah, sure, you'll hear some of the lyrics in the verses when I first it was as ever with me lyrically. It's more of a sort of an idea of where I want it to be. The chorus is totally, completely, exactly the same. I mean, a lot of the song is literally word for word. The melody's all there. Everything's right there. The tempo, the speed, the sort of guitar vibe. Some of the verses are a little bit more, okay, here's the sort of vibe I'm hearing with that. And then we did hone the words a little bit over the next couple of months.
Yeah, I think Ali said there was, when it was recorded with Glenn in the studio
Ballard,
doing his vocal, and there was
we did
some of
the
the lyrics were done on the fly.
Yeah, we did the vocal on the top floor of Capitol Records building.
Yeah,
in Hollywood,
iconic building. Yeah.
And Glenn Ballard, who was the producer, or I co-produced it with him. Matthew didn't produce this track, which caused some aggravation with record companies and producers and all that stuff. But so Glenn Ballard was sort of the guy for this, and we did the vocal on the top floor of the Capitol Records building, where he had a studio there, an office. And we also did some of the guitar, the sort of like the guitar with the choppy stuff, that kind of thing. We did that there. I just recorded that in his office. And then we did a bunch of the other stuff. He had a studio further out in the valley where we did like the drums and the main guitars and, you know, all that kind of stuff.
I think that's where he'd recorded Alanis Morissette, wasn't it?
I think so. Yeah, or
Yeah.
certainly I think that's where she'd done
Where we
her
had the whole
vocals.
band.
She'd done her vocals up there on the top floor as well, and then I think other stuff
Okay.
gets done out in his.
Oh, that's interesting. So maybe there's something about the sound of the room at the top of that Capitol.
I don't know. I think Ali
The
did the
vocals.
chorus vocals were done out in his main studio. It was just the verse stuff. I think we had a version of it down.
Should we?
And he was
I
like,
didn't know that.
You know,
Right.
go on, then, Pete, what are you waiting for?
Should we have a quick listen to the demo?
Sure, why not?
I don't think anybody outside of the band, the people that worked on the demo, me, have ever heard this.
I don't even remember hearing it myself.
No.
I had a little
it was
moment.
a crazy busy time then.
Yeah, I mean, we got the whole thing start
No.
to finish, from writing it to finishing recording it was probably like a 3-week period. Complete, total, everything.
I remember when you sent me a bunch of demos on MP3s when we were writing the book. I even skipped over it because I thought it was Cosmic Crusader, which was another track that you'd done.
A little different.
Until I looked at the title a couple of weeks later and I was like, holy smoke, what's this? Nige, you've sent me this song. Check this out.
Drum machine comes in. Here's the vibe, and then here's my rapping.
No, the intro goes.
Next time round. You get the vibe, there it goes. A little different, and then the chorus.
Still got it. It's like that.
And then with a lot of the words. The whole thing back to there. I forget what I did now. Is that you fading it, Pete, or did I fade it?
That's fading out. I'm not touching it.
Oh, there you go.
God, you did the fade out as well, no?
Well, I guess
It's
it was
literally
on
the whole format is identical,
yeah,
isn't it?
no,
it's obviously just to the
and that's very
drum machine.
rare to, like, very often I'll hear significant chunks of a song, like, it'll just be there, right, or some version of it. More often than not, it's like a verse and a chorus and maybe a bit,
and
so
it
the
evolves.
whole thing to be like, and there's so much. There's like, it's got a double verse, chorus, double verse, double chorus, drops down into that G sharp section where it kind of hangs, and then goes into that breakdown, and then obviously and then the one thing was, Glenn wanted this bit, and that this is one of the things they said, at about 2 minutes 30 or whatever, it has to be this moment where it's going to go cosmic castaway, and it's the whole thing, which in the movie, of course, is where they actually stop the song and the vocals go to this huge reverb, and that's where it just sort of echoes off into the song. Then we carry on for the outro, but in the movie, so that was I do remember that was a directive of whatever was going to be for this section. It had to kind of have this moment where it went bang.
They wanted the natural break in the song to literally
do that
go in
thing
the
with,
movie,
and it just
which is actually really impactful watching the film. That's one of the biggest moments in the film.
So that's interesting. Again, I think you've been through the process, so you kind of have lived it. But for anybody listening, they'd already told you which bit of the movie you were going to be writing the song for.
Like I said, there were 5. I think it was 5 different bits of the movie that they said because we obviously weren't the first. They'd already asked a bunch of other people to write some stuff and who'd already done some things. They had songs in various places. And I think we were relatively towards the end of the process. Well, yeah, there were just 5 bits left, right? Where they're looking for something. And they had, some sort of idea about what, and I think along with the video, they may have even had a little bit of backstory for us about the characters, about this is Cable. He's so that fed into something in there, right?
I think it's arguably, for a lot of fans of the movie, it's arguably the most iconic scene in the whole film, because he's Kel Tucker's been a little boy, everything's happened, the Earth's exploded and all that kind of stuff. This is the first time you meet him as a man. So they and he's, mining wreckage off a meteor or whatever. And then he jumps on a flying bike and flies off. I'll put the video in. Put it in. And it's such an iconic scene. And I think lots of people associate that scene and that track, what was the finished track, as the two things together. It's so cool.
It feels like that's the start of the big movie, Yeah.
Well, it's actually a good movie in as much it's quite punchy. They don't leave you hanging. You just get straight into it. But it's the first time you meet Matt Damon's character as an adult, and then Cosmic Castaway. And that bit where it stops is basically where he kind of enters the space station, and then it all kind of goes.
Right.
It's so good. So good.
Yeah, and that's interesting hearing it like that, because it's not something I necessarily listen to that much, although I have listened to it a few times on and off over the years. But it's just interesting. I wish they all came as fully fleshed out as that. Right?
Well,
I can usually remember all the demos ever since we were in '94.
Right.
I don't remember hearing that.
It's the turnaround.
I don't remember hearing that at all until then.
Literally, I think we went from meeting to finishing recording the song at Glenn's studio, and the whole thing was probably 3 weeks. Literally from meeting it, watching the film, writing it, which is very unusual. Normally, we'd have a demo knocking around, everyone kind of play it a little bit.
But I don't even remember hearing that back then.
Yeah, right, demo. right.
I don't remember hearing that version of you writing it at all. It's just all I can remember is being in the studio and recording some guitar at Glenn's.
Right.
In the verses mainly, because you thickened up something in the chorus and didn't need anything else. Right. Because there was a Marshall stack and stuff.
Let's listen to the one that ended up in the film. Should we do it?
Okay. All right.
But we're probably going to get in there. Let's do
this is where I made Alex will get upset because I made him use a plectrum for this one.
We'll get a copyright strike for this, but let's just use it anyway.
All right, let's see. I'm going to see if I can get it to play. Right, where are you?
It was there. We just heard it.
Oh, here it is. I'm doing it again. That beep at the start is that's the...
Yeah. That little... That's the sound of the pop forward capital record. And then I was so substation, Alex comes in with the plectrum. He did not want to do so worth it. To give it that punchier edge. You can hear it on the bass, you can hear how much content that bass is there.
Goldman's drumming is so good on this one as well. He's tight.
So I need no mind and poison in my little soul. Losing short is easy, so I am no
He's channeling his punk
forward, you know, and the way he's the word up for right. Yes, that's right. Hang there for a bit. Do a little bit of time.
And I won't have not bad dreams, lost thoughts, and here with no pain, you hurt me again. I won't have
Fucking done a lot on a lot of things, so it works so well there.
Big finale.
Yeah, that's where it ends in the movie. You'll hear that reverb on that vocal in the background. So nasty.
So good.
Yeah, very nice.
So good.
It's amazing how much energy Paul and Ali put into the whole.
Yeah.
So I have a
driving performance from those two.
I mean, Ali's
everything else, you could take everything else away and it would just work on its own with Ali and Paul.
Well, Ali's range across the whole song is insane because he goes from punk to
as well. Yes,
punk to
sort of
that performance on his words, like Morning Afterglow. He performs it, and
so I have a question.
Touch that.
I have a question. Did the film come out before In Here We Fall, or did it come out after? I need to check the dates.
Really
Should I tell you why I asked the question?
Was that September?
Yeah, I think the film might have been a little bit before.
Right. So I remember. So I have a confession.
The film was 16th of July, wasn't it?
Yeah, 16th of June.
June, sorry. Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah. So yeah, for the album. Because I have a confession to make. I went to the cinema and saw Titan A.E. This was early internet days. You guys had buggered off to America and were doing your thing over there, so we weren't. You know, the people back in the UK weren't even following the band all that much. We didn't even know if he was still in existence because of the stuff that had happened with the label and stuff. So I went to the cinema and saw the movie, clearly heard the song and did not realize it was Electrasy because
I'm sure
that song is such a leap from the Brit poppy sound of some of the Beautiful Insane tracks. Like, it was mad. So what drove you to suddenly kind of bring in this slightly more American sound? Was it the film, like having to slot into the soundtrack?
No, not in the slightest, because you'll notice a lot of the rest of the album sounds like that as well, right? So it's more that, you know, we've had some of this discussion before about how many times we tried re-recording Morning Afterglow, and one of the reasons being we didn't feel it was like heavy enough to really match who we were, right? So it's more a question, and then obviously some of the tracks on Beautiful Insane go even lighter rather than leaning in. And as soon as you see us live, you realize, oh, this is a rock band. Always have been, never been any difference. We're a sort of punk rock indie band. We're not a sort of, you know, light and fluffy pop sort of like thing. And obviously that first album just we just didn't feel it did justice to a whole.
Yeah.
I mean, Morning Afterglow is fine and has its, it's lovely and does its thing, and very much enjoy listening to that. And I'm happy that we went with the original version, but there was a reason we kept trying to re-record it and kept trying to do other stuff, because we wanted a sound that we felt matched more who we were. And then this second album, just basically when we signed to Arista also, they welcomed that, because MCA just didn't.
Well, it was because, I mean, Lit's on that album as well, and there are other bands that were, and the sound all kind of locks together. It was much more in that way.
Yeah.
I think what's really fascinating about the film, the song, that song in particular, your song on that soundtrack has really endured.
Yeah.
It? This one's the one that's kept the lights on for quite a while.
Absolutely.
Big
Yeah.
time.
And what amazed me is, like, obviously we had some, time, a lengthy hiatus. How about that? We never split up. We just did our thing, and we just were living on different continents. But I do remember about, maybe it would have been 2010 or something like that, like quite a while ago, for the first time suddenly being aware on YouTube that there were these gamers who were making videos where they do their sort of cuts of game. And some of them had 1.5 million streams using Cosmic Castaway as the sound. And there were many of these videos, lots and lots of them. So it became this whole thing in the gaming community where people were using Cosmic Castaway and getting millions of streams for their sort of gaming mashup videos of here's me playing Halo and recording bits of it, and here's my mashup video. And they would all use this song. And I'd never even realized that was happening until a certain point. And then it was like, this thing's got a life of its own that goes way. I mean, the movie itself also has some of that sort of resonance in that kind of community, but the song, independently of the movie, had this whole thing happen to it for years, which was awesome. And to be honest, we didn't really know anything about it. It just sort of happened.
But it's funny because, of course, off the back of the film flopping and just wiping off Fox, there was actually a game of Titan A.E. in development, and they were going to launch it straight after, and there was no money to do it, so it never launched.
Really?
Yeah.
There was going to be a game.
And so all these people that have done all this gaming stuff on YouTube with their mashup videos and stuff have kind of, we'll do our own version of Titan A.E. gaming,
How fascinating. I did not know that.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the other thing that just blew my mind when I was digging around, Googling the band for the book and seeing what came back and sending bots off and scraping the internet, it's like, there's also all these crazy cover versions of it, which I also loved on TikTok.
Amazing.
It's like, it's got a whole life on TikTok, which is
Death
kept me
metal.
amused.
I think
Death metal
someone
on
did
YouTube.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, it's good to go on,
Cosmic.
Steve.
And then there's a video of someone walking their dog backwards. And they did the Morning Afterglow video. I'm pretty sure it was Cosmic Castaway, and they were walking their dog backwards, and he was lip syncing.
I always love seeing the cover versions. There's a high school band that did a version at a Battle of the Bands in Brazil or something.
Right.
This was in 2010 or 11 or maybe even earlier, I don't know, and I was like, oh my god, somebody covered our song. And it was just so cool, these kids just thrashing this thing out at their Battle of the Bands in high school, and it was awesome. And then there was another guy who did a cover of the song a few years ago, and it was like a real sort of like scream death metal version, so the verses were like, Rah! I was like, damn, that works. It really it suited the sort of that, because at the end of the day, it's a song that's pretty full of angst. It's full of that sort of.
Well, it is a punk song, isn't it?
Absolutely. And I thought I loved his version. I was like, damn, that's good. That's really got an energy to it that I thought was very cool. So I love hearing that.
My favorite cover is, and they've done several versions of it in several videos, is the Indian band, the Bollywood band.
I haven't seen that one.
What? You've not seen? You've not seen Bollywood Cosmic Castaway, right?
Bollywood
posting that
one. No, I have not.
Yeah, Bollywood's good.
Oh,
and there was a Filipino TikToker that loves a Cosmic Castaway soundtrack and cover as well. So global hit.
Cool. There you go.
Just really quickly, let's just on numbers I mean, it gets a lot of plays online as well, doesn't it?
Yeah. So I mean, it's just on Spotify, straight at Spotify is about 4-something million.
4.2 million coming
Oh,
up
there
to
you
that.
go. 4
Yeah.
So it's
So good.
like
I struggle to
it'll
keep
be
up with
like,
the statistics on it.
yeah, it's like a couple of thousand times every day without fail.
Yeah.
That song is streamed, and then Apple and everywhere on everything.
And
sort of
it's not slowing down. It seems to be
No,
speeding up as well.
speeding up,
Because
if
I
anything.
can remember last time I'd looked at the stats on it, around about certainly no more than a year ago, it was around 3 million.
Yeah. So yeah, it had
Jesus.
about 600 and something thousand streams last year.
Yeah.
So I think as
I mean,
we've
it's-
started raising our profile again and doing stuff, it's also then sort of
Yeah.
it kept doing its thing, but now it's doing its thing, and there's more profile to it. So it kind
That's it. And it's not just
It's,
Spotify, it's like you said, YouTube.
No, all the
is
others.
Absolutely.
all the
Yeah.
I started making a playlist on our channel of all Cosmic Castaway fan-made videos. I ran out of time because there were so many, and they were getting like thousands and made way more views than ours.
Oh yeah.
And because they've been there for some time. And
Well,
so it's like,
look,
what
I
is
mean,
going on here?
what a song, really! What a
Incredible.
song! An absolute
Beast.
anthem as well. It's just, I mean, it's a song that hit the time and the moment just perfectly.
Yeah.
I think, and it is a bit of an
Yeah,
emo song.
yeah.
So, but the other thing,
Definitely
right?
got
So what I
the
also want to touch on to drive this forward to a really fun punchline, actually. But let's just go through the bit before
Sure.
we get to the next bit. I think what was really amazing. So we've looked at the cover versions online. We've been through some of the social media posts with it uses soundtrack and stuff. But what's actually blown me away, Steve away, Nigel, Ali, everybody is looking at people's comments.
Oh,
Now, I think
yeah.
what's incredible is when you think about the fact this is 25 years old, a lot of people were kids, like literal kids, when this
Yeah,
movie came
absolutely.
out.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
for some people, it was literally the first film they ever saw at the cinema or on VHS.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They ever remember their earliest memory of a movie. Like someone
Something
said
that
5 years old.
resonated with them.
They can remember being 5 years old, and it was that. That's the earliest movie they can remember.
Shall I
Going
read
back.
a couple of these out, or do you want to read them out, Steve?
Sure.
I haven't got
here.
them here.
Oh, I've
No,
got some.
I-
Steve sent these to me earlier. So we were just flicking through and we grabbed a load. Courier 6, at Courier 6. I remember when my grandparents had this film on VHS. It was 2000. DVDs were well out by then. I don't know why they had it on VHS. Thought it was the coolest movie as a kid. Cosmic Castaway was one of the first songs I got on Apple Music when I bought my iPod in the army. So he was a kid and then blah, blah, blah. Let's see. I used to watch this movie on loop as a kid. This song makes me want to watch it. This song makes me want to watch it on loop again as an adult because they'd heard Cosmic Castaway. This song got me through some of the toughest parts of my life. Harassed relentlessly in school, treated like an outcast everywhere I went. Discharged from the army. I've been knocked down time and time again, and yet I'll take over because I'm no loser. I'm a cosmic castaway.
There you go. Yeah.
I love
nuts.
Yeah,
is
that's
nuts.
powerful stuff.
That's
so
incredible.
good. There's a big one there. There's thousands and thousands of comments. I've got a couple more. I've been listening to the original of the song. It's my favorite from the movie. It hypes me up. It's so amazing. Makes me feel like a kid again. So much nostalgia in this one. Grew up on the edge of existence. Don't quite know what that means. Me and my siblings got by listening to this song. It meant so much to us. Here's to the Castaways. And it just goes on and on and on. And there's just like all these really lovely comments.
I mean, isn't that the power of music? And
Yeah. It's amazing.
especially growing up and trying to process feelings and everything. And if we didn't have that,
Yeah.
how bleak would that be, eh? And
Yes, I like this one as well. Look, Cosmic Castaway is on my Spotify playlist. Boo. My wife looks at me like I'm insane when I crank it up and redline the car on the highway when it comes on.
There you go. It's fantastic.
That's the way.
That's the way.
Nice.
Yeah.
But look, it has. I mean, it's for the outcasts and the renegades and the rebels, isn't it? So tell me what you guys did to celebrate the 25th anniversary of the song and the movie.
All right.
What did you do?
You want to take it away for a little bit?
Well, we released a re-recording of it, didn't we?
We certainly did. Absolutely.
You have.
And we celebrated everyone connecting to that.
Yeah.
And exactly like with those comments, some of those comments you just read is just the best present we could have, I think.
I had this lovely moment last year because on the tour, that was the first time I'd heard you play the song live, right? Because you weren't in the UK, no one had heard it. I looked around the room at every single one of the tour dates, and I could see people with a kind of wry smile when it came on. There it is. I've never heard that live. That's amazing. And the re-recording that you've done, the new recording that you've done is far more in keeping with the live version, I think.
Yeah, I think that was a large part of it, right? Because obviously we spoke a little bit ago about this sort of challenge of our recorded stuff not always quite capturing what we wanted it to in terms of that live sound. Second album, In Here We Fall, certainly did to a degree. Renegades and Cosmic Castaway, both of which did extremely well in the charts in Japan in this sort of radio play, right when, unfortunately, Arista kind of folded. But for us, those were the songs that should have been like the singles.
And I can remember at that point they were talking about possibly putting us on a tour to Japan because of how well it was going
never
there.
Got to go,
and
let's listen to the
re-recording. Yes.
Is it a re-recording?
Yeah,
completely.
There's nothing. There's nothing from scratch. There's nothing the same. No guitar. We don't have. Yeah, the wire on that guitar. Remarkable how little changed from the original demo 25 years later. That again sounds a lot better than the original.
So much colour, isn't it?
One of my favourite things on the whole album comes in right from the second and doubles the vocal notes. And this time I added the harmony part underneath. Now we've got signature style 2 guitars going on. And then the top section is massive here. And then we do something different. Stop.
It's brilliant.
I really like the live. Not played out live. So there you go.
No fade
Brilliant.
out.
It's the same but different. It's the same
exactly.
but different.
It's the same thing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just so much there. It's like Chris's drumming is so great. It's just like
Yeah.
so, his, I know he did a whole thing about the drums, and obviously Paul's a great drummer. Paul was fantastic. Chris is an awesome drummer. And the thing I think that stands out a little bit there is he doesn't run away from simplicity. And there are times, especially the way I write songs, especially when it comes to choruses, they just go kind of bang. And when his drumming just sort of doubles down on that, it just fits the vibe, I think, just really, really well. Like, he's not afraid to just whack the crap out of the crash cymbal. He's got it,
hasn't he?
Yeah, and that, I think that's what just takes that vibe just up a little bit further even,
Well, and the whole song is still very respectful of the original as well. It's not saying, we're doing something better here. It's just like, this is
much more than
us live.
It's just having fun. It's just us going, this is what we sound like. Let's revel in doing it for the sheer joy of
and
it.
the original version sounds amazing as well, but for completely different reasons. And having the two is like awesome.
The new version's on all of the usual channels. Buy it on Bandcamp with the album out there that's just been released as well. So buy it on Bandcamp. Also go and watch the video on YouTube, which has got a huge homage to Titan A.E. as well. That'd be amazing. Guys, I mean, what a song, and what a movie, and what a song, and it's kind of endured.
And what a crowd of people behind, to
the
support
community.
Because otherwise it means nothing, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
That's
the only thing. It's the only reason we're here talking about it is because of the people that connect to the film and the music.
Yeah.
We wouldn't have bothered
awesome.
Otherwise. So
all
about that.
Just to wrap us up, I actually went digging around into some sort of facts about Titan A.E., and this is a cracker for us to finish on, actually, and it kind of links into what you've just said. There were actually a couple of deleted scenes from the movie that explain the background to the Dredge. So the Dredge are the Dredge are like the blue, like glowy alien things.
What about why they hated humanity so much?
Yes. So there's a deleted scene in the movie, and apparently it was to reduce complexity and make them a little bit more kind of one-dimensional. So there's a backstory for the Dredge. Anyway, the Titan ship in the film, the Titan A.E. ship, was a metaphor for, the writers had made it was a metaphor for humanity's potential. And the Dredge feared humanity because of its creative potential. The Dredge were supposed to be like quite linear and functional and mechanical, and they just wanted to plow through the world in that vein. They feared humanity because of its creative potential. And I thought, what a wicked fact.
They pulled that out of the film.
They didn't want to get into they didn't want it to be too philosophical, but
and that's the thing that people point out is like, what's the point of the Dredge wanting to kill humanity? And everyone's like, what are they? Why are they doing this? And there you have it. Where did you get that from, Pete?
That was from the internet, so it must be true. No, it was from an interview that I read with one of the original. I'm forgetting his name. One of the original animators.
So was that in the prequel?
It was in the prequel. They did comic books, didn't they? But it was also one of the original animators who interviewed. Anyway, I just thought it was really good because it's such a creative movie. It's such an incredible soundtrack. Amazing. It's such a creative song that you created, and so I just thought it was a really interesting way to sort of wrap us up.
Yeah, brilliant.
For doing that.
Perfect ending. Well
right,
done,
boys. Love
good
that.
Homework.
I always do my homework. Probably the greatest. It's like one of the best sci-fi movies you've never seen, Titan A.E., and I want everyone. I
want to give you an apple now.
Right. On that note, unless Steve's going to do a little song for us.
I haven't got guitar.
He hasn't got his guitar tonight, so we won't bother. Is it Over My Head by Lit from the soundtrack to Titan A.E.? Amazing. All right, listen, thanks for the song, boys, because it's a belter, and everybody go listen to the new version on YouTube, please, and then go buy it on Bandcamp.
Enjoy it. Yeah.
Great.
Ta-ta, boys.
Nice guys. Nice to see you. Catch up.
Thank you. Bye.
Au revoir.